Hey guys, so I'm gonna do my, what was last month? August wrap up. It is the middle of September, so my brain is like a September wrap up, but no, it's my August wrap up, so we're gonna do it. And I have extreme lack of sleep, so excuse the bags under my eyes. I kind of look dead right now. So we're gonna get into it. I have no clue how many books I read, but I'm sure you're gonna know from the title. So let's get into it. All the books are gonna be linked down below. Okay, so I'm gonna do the physical books first before I get into the ebooks that I read. The first physical book I read this month was The Fiery Heart by Rochelle Mead, and this is the fourth book in the Bloodline series. It took me a really long time to finish this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm intrigued to see how the series will continue. I'm not really looking forward to it, but we're gonna go with it. So that is that. The next group of books I read are the Anna and the French Kiss trilogy series companions. I reread the first 2 books, Anna and the French Kiss and Lola and the Boy Next Door, because I got them in these new covers. So I just thought I'd reread them before I read Isla. These both had 5 out of 5 stars on my Goodreads before when I'd read them years ago, but they're kind of like a 4.5 for each of them. I don't know, they just weren't, maybe it's because I read them so much, but especially Lola, it wasn't as good as I remembered, so that's that. And the other one, which I read for the first time, is Isla and the Happily Ever After. This one, it was very not what I expected of the book, so that's that. It's got 4 out of 5 stars. It's one I was really looking forward to, and maybe it was because it took so long to come out that I had just like worked up that it's gonna be the most amazing thing, but it just really wasn't. Okay, so the next book I read is actually a reread too. It's On Dublin Street by Samantha Young, and this is the first book in her On Dublin Street series. And I wanted to read this because my library had gotten in like the ebook versions of the next 3 books in the series. So I wanted to read this again just to kind of refresh my memory, even though they are companions to each other and have different series to each other. I kind of just, you know, the old characters are in there and you don't want to forget about their story too. So I did this and it was 4 to 5 stars both times I read it. So that's that. As I said, I read the next book in the series, which is Down London Road. And I really enjoyed this one. It got 4 out of 5 stars too. Then I read the third one in the series. Let me try to hold on. Before Jamaica Lane by Samantha Young, and it looks like this. I'm still waiting because I got put on like a waiting list for the 4th one in the series that's on the website, so I haven't read that one yet, but I read these 2 because they were available to me when I was able to get them. I really enjoyed both of them. It's just different characters in the series. They're spin-offs and just stuff. And I'm really excited for the series to continue. I think the 4th one is the last one in the series as far as I believe. So that's going to be fun. So yeah, I really enjoy Samantha Young. She's a good thing. And these are kind of adult books, kind of not. I don't know. My reading is just so plop all over the place. Like I'll read adult, I'll read young adult, I'll read new adult and all that stuff. So I was just blah everywhere, so yeah. The next book I read is Save Me by Amanda Heath, and the cover's a little blurry. It didn't download right for some reason because I just do the pictures since most of them are from the library, so it's just easier instead of going into each ebook and getting on the cover page. Anyways, this is the 3rd book in her Make It or Break It or Make Me or Break Me, whatever series. It was good. It got 5 out of 5 stars. I think this was actually my favorite. And it kind of shocked me because I was not looking forward to this story because it's Courtney's story and that's a guy. And that kind of bugged me. I don't know why, but I actually really enjoyed it. So there's that. The next books I read are by Tijan. And for some reason, I have no clue why, but the Fall and Crest series, I couldn't find them anywhere until I got a Kindle and saw them there. And then the first one was free, so I'm like, okay. Read the first one and like kind of enjoyed it, but kind of hated it at the same time. So I'm like, I'll give the second one a try. So it looks like this, and this is called Fall and Crest Family, and it's about this girl who her mom like leaves her dad and like moves her and her mom moves her and her mom into this family of the guy that she's dating, and the guy has 2 boys her age, and it's just a whole lot of hoopla. And these books feel really long. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if it's because they are long. They're ebooks. They're hard to tell if they're long or not, but they feel really long. And I give this one 4 to 5 stars, and I'm like, okay. It ends on a cliffhanger, so I'm going to try to give the 3rd one a try, even though I really didn't want to. But this is Fall and Crest Public by Tijan, and This one got 3 out of 5 stars. The series just keeps getting kind of worse. It's so just annoying to read. I could rant on about this. I'm not going to, but personally, I think it's way too much drama. It's really unrealistic, like really unrealistic in most aspects of the word. So I'm not sure if I'll be continuing the series. I'm sure if I could get the 4th book, like, cheap, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. The next book I read, I was really, really excited to read, and it's Beautiful Oblivion by Jamie McGuire. And this is the 3rd book in the Beautiful Disaster, and the 1st book or the 3rd book in the Maddox Boys, whatever they're calling that series now. And this is Trent's story, and I really enjoyed it in most aspects. It got a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. I really didn't like the referencing to, like, what was going on in Beautiful Disaster, because I've already read Beautiful Disaster and Walking Disaster. I don't need to see it from another point of view again. So when it, like, those overlapped, I was kind of like, do we really need to do this? And I was hoping it would take place after, but apparently it didn't. So that kind of put a damper on it, and the ending kind of, like, was what? Okay, bye. But yeah, I'm excited for the next book in the series, which I believe is one of the other brothers. I'm not going to say the name because I can't remember. There's too many. So yeah, as I said, I'm intrigued to see how the series will continue and things like that. This next book I read was like one of those like Kindle free owner's library thing if you have Prime. So I got it for free, and it was read by J.S. Cooper. And I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was just not my thing, and I don't know what I was expecting out of it, but it was not, I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it, and I feel like it took me a really long time to read, even though it didn't, but it just felt like, come on, just finish the book already. And that never happened. Well, I mean, it did, obviously, because I finished the book, but it felt like it was never ending, and you don't want to be in a book like that. Like, can I just finish it already? So that's why I got 3 out of 5 stars. I forgot. Red is basically about this dude who's a playboy, and then this girl tries to change him. You know, that story. We've read it. I've read it a million times, but it wasn't this bad and all the other ones. The next book I got is actually like one of those like random free books that they have like advertised on your Kindle, because you can't have a normal lock screen. They have to do an advertisement, of course. But this one is Opposing Sides by C.M. DePorto, and it looks like this. Obviously it's about a triangle of stuff, but it's like a really weird thing because it's about this girl who has this like whole thing about like her parents are forcing her to marry someone, basically. So it was just a really funky thing. The next book I read is Rogue by Katie Evans, and this is from her Friends story. Like, if you've read the first 3 books in the Real series by Katie Evans, this is her Friends story, the girl's best friend. I didn't really enjoy this either. I didn't enjoy the first book either. Here's the thing. I've read 4, this is the 4th book. I've read the other 3, and I said I wasn't going to continue after the first one, but somehow I did. And so I was like, oh, maybe this one will be like getting better as the series goes on too, because the last one was perfect. Because like the first one sucked, the second one was okay, and then the third one was great. So I'm like, the 4th one has to be great too, but it went back to the beginning basically in my feel of the book. So that is why that's not the book. That's not the book either. That's not the book either. What is going on here? Of course. That's why that book got 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, which I was like anticipating 4 months, like just dying to read, is I Need You by Mercy Amari. And this is the 5th and final book in the Kiana saga. And I was just like, thank God. It's not like thank God it's over, but thank God we have an ending that like you don't feel like your heart's being ripped out, because that's how I felt at the end of book 4. Because I needed book 5, and book 5 wasn't coming out for another few months, so I was in agony. If you refer to my tweets, you know that. So I was really excited to read this. I flew by it. She released it early too, which thank you, love that. So I flew by it in a few hours, and it was great. And I think I gave it 4.5 or maybe 5. I don't know, but it wrapped up everything in good series ender. The next book I got is what it was like from NetGalley, and it was just one of those like you didn't even have to request it, you could just read it now. And it's The 100 by Cass Morgan, and this book I watched the TV show before I read these books too. So that was kind of my downfall, because I would have really, I don't know if I'd enjoy this book as much if I hadn't watched the series on TV. It's a show on the CW, and it's so good, the show. So I was like, the books have to be great. And the show ended on such a freaking cliffhanger because it's in its off season right now. So I'm like, oh, if I read the first 2 books that are out, because like the second book hadn't even been out when I read the book, because the first 2 books were available. I was like, I can read them and I'll know what happens. But they're so different from the series that they stay along the same guideline, but different characters and there's an extra character that I'm like, oh, okay. And then there's like someone that they added into the series that they didn't have in the books, and they have different terminology, like they call them grounders on the show, but Earthborns in the series. If you don't want to know what the 100 is, it's basically about these people that live up in space because they got away during the apocalypse, basically. And when the world had those explosions, it wasn't safe to live on Earth anymore, so they went up into space, and they have very harsh punishments. And they sent 100 teenagers that were convicted of a crime, and the crime could have been as simple as talking back. And they send them down to Earth to test it out. It's been 98 years. So they send them down, and it ends up being okay, but there's a lot of things that they experience that aren't normal about the Earth we know today as it is in the future. So it's a really interesting story, and I like the dynamics. It's told in several points of view. I think it's about 5, which I'm usually not the biggest fan of, but I feel like since I already knew the characters all but one point of view from the series, it made it so much easier. But I would have thought it was pretty boring if it wasn't, because not a lot happens in the first 2 books. Because even though the second book isn't in this wrap-up, I read it this month. So that is my thoughts on this. I still gave it 5 out of 5 stars because it was still a good book. I really enjoyed it. And yeah. The next book I read, which is in the Keaton Chronicles, it's book 6, Get Me by Jillian Dodd. And this was another one of those things that I read, and I needed after the 5th book, I needed this one. It's basically about this girl who gets a stalker, and she's sent away to a private boarding school and has to do all these things to avoid being captured by this stalker because he wants to kill her, and he wants to make a movie with her. And I have a lot of problems with this series. I really do. I just don't have words for a lot of it. It's very, very unrealistic. It's a lot like the Fallen Crossing, but like not. It's very unrealistic in my point of view. And it's hard to compare to because she's also the daughter of a movie star, so she has all this money she can spend. And it was kind of just like a fantasy kind of a thing. Not like fantasy like dragons and things, but like that, like a, ooh, I want to be this, the Hollywood dream. But it was kind of weird. I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't very consistent at all. But the last book, I feel like, did do a good job of wrapping up the series, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This next book I got for free a really long time ago when I was just going through the books that I haven't read on my Kindle yet. And I saw this, and I'm like, you know what, that looks kind of good. So I read Crush by Lacey Weatherford. And it looks like this, and it's basically... This book took me a pretty long time to finish. I just put it down and just was like, I'm done. I don't need it. I feel like it was just kind of weird. And it's basically about this guy that's undercover as a high school student, and he like falls in love with a 17-year-old girl. So stuff happens. And I don't know. I don't know if I want to continue the series, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, it was a weird book. And like he was investigating these random killings and drug overdoses and all that stuff, so I don't know, it was just kind of weird, and that's that. That is all the books I read this month. What are some books you read last month? I guess last month I should say, because it is literally the middle of September. So that's all, folks. I will see you, I think, Friday, because I'm not doing Top 5 Wednesday this week. So I will see you Friday with a Friday Reads. Bye, guys.